Sister. Mike, Jack. Yeah, the little goobers are in the other room right now. So, one of them already finished his bone. I walked in there and it was like, where? I was like, it's gone. Which he's the younger one. So, demolished it in record time. I'm glad I put them in separate rooms, and the other dog is still working on her bone. She's savoring it a little more, I guess, if you will. Which the other one, that's just how he operates. He like inhales everything, his food, his water. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Yeah, it's see the little green dots on. It's hard when you don't have your headphones in and whatnot. Okay, let's see how we're gonna do. Okay, 8 of Cups on the cut here for shuffling. So, yes, I am back doing this live reading. I took a little bit of a break during the Lenten season. For those of you that don't know, I was raised Catholic, so Lent has always been a part of my life, whether I am practicing within the church or not. That's the thing about spirituality. You can go and do that at any time. You don't have to wait till Sunday. You don't have to wait till Bible study on Wednesday. You don't have to wait for so-and-so that so-and-so said that so-and-so said it's okay, right? You don't have to wait. Actually, one of my very favorite, and it's usually during Lent, scriptures that they say is, do not be like the Pharisees out there in the street. Go into your room and pray. So, do you need an intercedent? Right? Do you need me to tell you to go and pray? No. Do you need a priest to go tell you to pray? No. Do you need the new youth pastor that your friend's brother-in-law knows, and they went to the Bible Institute, such and such, in order to go and pray? No. But if you would like to do that, you can. You can see how other people do it, right? That's part of why people should go, right? Is to see, okay, well, this is how somebody else prays. Maybe that's right for me. Maybe it's not right for you, okay? And you have to decide that, all right? Some faiths are very particular. Some faiths don't allow women to lead prayer. And, me being raised Catholic, a nun was as high as you could go. All right. So me not wanting to become a mother superior, this is the path that chose me. Oh, well, thank you for the compliments. So let's continue on here. Ace of Pentacles. Maybe it's your lucky day. Maybe it's your lucky day. It is Friday after all, right? Is it payday for somebody? Is it payday? What are you going to do with that money, right? Remember, tax day is coming up. Hopefully you're getting a refund, right? Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. I think they're still working on mine. I haven't received a call back or email coming to say pick him up, right? 6 of Wands. That's always like knock, knock. I don't, hopefully I don't owe, right? 6 of Wands, that's celebratory, celebrating yourself as well. And also being celebrated by those who appreciate you, okay? Not everybody will appreciate us. Sorry if you're just getting that news flash, right? But the 6 of Wands is about the people who will celebrate you. And if you go back thinking of this Easter season, right, on Palm Sunday when Jesus comes back, right, and enters into the town riding on his donkey. Here it's a horse, right? And he is celebrated by many who have come to see him, right? And that makes the rulers of Rome very jealous, and also the Pharisees, because it's like, oh, why aren't they celebrating us? Why aren't they celebrating us? Right? So you got a little bit of that green-eyed monster out there, right? And what do they say? If you don't stand for anything, right? If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Okay? So, standing up for your beliefs does not always make you popular, does it? Right? It's popular now for everyone to be like, oh yeah, I'm a follower of Christ. Blah, blah. Well, back in the day, they were like, why are you doing that? He's a magician. And all this kind of crazy stuff, right? So, when they say your vibe attracts your tribe, that is a true statement. And I also recently saw something on the internet where, it's, what I would like to say about it is that, not everyone's going to support your journey, as it was like, oh, well, somebody who's doing this will understand why you're doing that. And it's like, no, because there's still people within, each section of what you're doing, even out there among spiritualists, out there among tarot readers, out there among whatever, they say, oh, well, I wouldn't listen to them. Oh, well, how could you do that? There's always going to be a critic, always, okay, of what you're doing, right? The choice that you have is to stay within your faith, not only your God-given faith, but your faith within yourself, okay, and continue on. Somebody's saying they're feeling a bit down today. Well, I hope your day turns around for you, okay? All right, now let's continue on here. Because as we all know, there's lots of gatekeepers, right? Back in the day, the Pharisees were the gatekeepers, right? Only the Pharisees can pray in this temple, right? Only our prayers are the prayers that are heard by the Most High. Right? That's what they wanted the people to believe. And part of that was for control. And once we start recognizing these patterns, like what other people are getting out of it, it becomes very clear, right? And at that point, it starts to become easier, believe it or not, right? It might be a little disappointing and be like, man, I really thought that person had my back, or I thought that person understood me. Some people in your life are going to be dedicated to twisting your words and misunderstanding every single thing you say, even your family. That might be disappointing news for people. I know it usually is for me when it's like, oh man, and I actually loved that person. Oh, what an idiot I was. But, can't win them all. Can't win them all. And you can run around trying to people please until you start finding out that some of them people ain't never going to be pleased by whatever you do. You can bend over backwards. You can do this. You can do that. They're always going to find something to pick at. Okay. So, again, the part of the journey is recognizing that, and they're like, oh, get off your high horse. It's like, well, who are you to tell me to get off my horse? Because this is my horse. It's not your horse. Right? This is my armor. This is my victory. They only wish they had a victory like this. Okay. So, the modern, thing is if you don't have haters, maybe you're, maybe you're not trying hard enough, right? Because there will be somebody. And some people that runs into, I especially ran into this in college a little bit with some college, especially not my undergrad as much. There were a couple that's like, anyway. But definitely in my master's program, when I was in my master's program, sometimes these professors or teachers, they get jealous because they see you're going places that they didn't even think about. You have creativity and drive that they never possessed, right? And so they'll be like, oh, well, that really wasn't a good paper. I'm going to give you a B on it. Even though you know it was good, right? Sometimes you got to think about those things. So, just because somebody says no doesn't mean there's not somebody else down the road that's going to say yes, but it's your persistence that makes the difference. Sarah Blakely is a female business person who had a hard road to her success story with the Spanx brand, SPANX, right? Started out as pantyhose. Now there's like a whole clothing line. If you read her story, she got a whole bunch of no's, okay, before anyone ever said yes. Okay, so sometimes these gatekeepers, that's what they're doing, right? They're like, right? And you have to make and forge your own path. Okay, so forge your own path. That might be the title of this video. Okay, so let's keep going here. Hello in the chat today. Thank you, everybody, for being kind to others in the chat. That is much appreciated. 3 of Swords. Yeah. Ooh. So as I mentioned, some of you might be finding out that, someone's like your favorite aunt or uncle that you thought was so great and you had this great relationship, right? Maybe they don't like you like... You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden it's like, they're saying disapproving things to you. They're shunning you for behavior that you're like, what am I doing that everyone else isn't doing, is doing? Or, all of a sudden they're shunning you because somebody saw you at the liquor store. It's like, well, last time I checked, I'm over the age of 21 and... You know what I mean? Like, I didn't crack open the bottle in my car. I mean, Jesus. Right? So if you don't want to be on that cross, right? That's why somebody came down from heaven and said, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be their pariah, right? Is that the right word for it? You don't have to be their whipping boy. You don't have to be their doormat. Okay, you don't have to be their punching bag. So, my heart goes out to you if you're discovering that now, because a lot of times it is disappointing to hear. And especially people that you cared about. Maybe, these could even be coworkers. These could be siblings, other, relatives, neighbors, however you want to say it. And it's like, wow, that's strange, right? People will get mad at you for running a business. Last time I checked, it's not illegal to run a business, but it is illegal to try and break into somebody's house, right? And it's like when they're siding with the criminals and you're like, wait a second, whose side are you on? Right? It's those sorts of things that it's like, well, my higher power, right? For you, that might be the God. For others, it might be, Ganesh or something, you know what I mean? Or maybe you're agnostic, where you just believe in a universal law or universal higher power, okay? And you see that, yeah, these things happen, but I guess that was just a tough lesson for me to learn. And, walking in your own faith, right, is going to get you through this. Okay. So I don't want you to give up hope. All right. And I think that's part of the message too, because sometimes I see a lot of this toxic positivity where it's like, if you just work harder, if you just do this, if you just jump through one more hoop, maybe these other people over here, right, will accept you. And that's just not the case. Because let me tell you, moving the goalposts, setting up another hoop is nothing for them. Okay. So Understanding that you are already made whole, okay, in the eyes of God, right? You don't need people to come and try and shoot holes in you, okay? For them to prove their point. Back in the day of the what was it, the Salem witch trials, right? And back then it's like, oh well, if she drowns then she was okay, but if she survives then she's a witch, right? It's like some people still hold this kind of logic. I hate to call out the Baptists, but some of the Baptists out there, they're like, oh, playing with cards is evil. Well, I'm sorry that your uncle so-and-so had a gambling problem, but that's not everybody, right? Heal yourself before you go projecting all this stuff on everybody else, right? Oh, well, so-and-so, they're a drunk and they do this and that. Okay, well, that's not everybody. So go to an Al-Anon meeting or whatever it takes for you to heal that so you're not projecting on everybody else. Okay? All right. Yeah, judgment. Only God can be the judge. Okay? I'm not the judge. You're not the judge. But spiritual law is the judge. Okay. Anyway. Nine of Swords. So this is that projection energy. This is that they're doing this and they're doing that. And they want you to be all fretted up and worried. And for a lot of you, because you're following the path that God put you on, or whatever your higher power belief is, right? You're not really worried or concerned. But see, it's like it's the ghosts of their unhealedness coming out, trying to taunt you, trying to say you're this, trying to say you're that, right? And it's like, do you think the creator, whoever created you, wants you to be feeling like this? Right? I have to ask myself that sometimes, because that's part of, say, clearing your energy and saying, I'm not giving that person the free rental up in my mind today. No, I am not. Right? Because I have other things to do. Right. Sometimes this can manifest as in the dream state as well. Say maybe you have a bad dream, a nightmare. It's because that's in your subconscious mind and it's working its way out. Now, I'm not saying that you can't ever have a bad dream or whatever. Just saying, recognize that that's where some of that comes from. So letting go of the guilt, letting go of the expectations, especially the expectations of people who have not made it as far as you. And it's like, oh, they want to be the judge. And it's like, well, but you didn't even make it this far. So how would you know? Right? It's kind of like in what's that movie, The Hunger Games, when they're assigned a mentor. And like Woody Harrelson's character, he's like, I'm going to tell you how it is. And he's like, well, let me tell you, you got an attitude problem. Part of this is, it's like that game Survivor, right? Some of it's a little bit of butt kissing, right? And, some people, they get off on that. They want their whole life to be you kissing their, whatever. And for some of us, we've been able to put that out, right? Because we're like, yeah, I got other things to do. I'm not going to play your game, right? And some of what that main character, Katniss, did, she played her own game, right? She didn't forget about her skills, did she? She didn't forget about what was important to her, leading, say her people, leading, her family to a better solution than, the hand they were dealt in whatever, poor district, right, that they came from, right? Because some people, they're like, ugh, a great movie, about something like that is, Slumdog Millionaire, right? Oh, well, how could you know that? You're from the hood, How could you know that? Sir, they got books. Well, sir, I use my skills otherwise. Maybe you don't have a library. Maybe you're just a curious person and you like to talk and converse with people, and that's the way that you share information, right, with willing participants, right? There's a lot of ways that we can educate ourselves, right? And it's not from what these people think, right? Because you can see what they're trying to do. Okay. But recognize that, yes, those people are out there. Again, not everyone is going to like you. That's just part of life. All right. Yeah, you could have a decision coming up regarding this. Maybe you have some business dealings or something. This could be some kind of relationship where it's like, yeah, why am I getting put through the ringer all the time? When I'm putting forth my best effort, right? What is that Foo Fighter song? Someone getting the best of you. Some people don't want your best. They don't. How do you convince them otherwise? Well, you leave them behind. Look at that. Wheel of Fortune. Now, what happened at the very beginning, so this is transformation here. At the very beginning, when that Ace of Pentacles, remember, on the bottom of the deck. So this is in the outcome right here. So this Wheel of Fortune collective, I feel, is going to be helping you, okay? So especially as you go through and you heal some of this, right? You get out of these patterns that someone else wanted you to be in. Okay, you get out of that, right? And you get back to saying, hey, I'm not so bad. Actually, you know what? I'm a good looker, right? There's the old SNL, I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And doggone it, people like me. There are people that like you. There are people that are like you as well. Okay, that don't want to compete with you, that just want to appreciate you. Once you tap more into that, right, and let go of this dusty stuff here, clean out them cobwebs, right, get it spick and span, right? Some people be like, oh, well, they're showing off. Oh, well, I'm, hey, sir, ma'am, you want to live how you want to live with all your stuff strewn over, and that's your business. Not everyone has to live that way, do we? Once you start tapping back into that, you're gonna, it grow. It's like going down the hill, and then you gain that momentum because you're valuing what you already have. And you're saying, well, they might not value it, but too bad for them. I value it. I value me. I value my home. I value my pets. I value the few friends I do have. I value the few family members that will talk to me with respect, as an adult. All right. You ever run into, they want to talk to you like you're still 5 years old or something, and it's like, last time I checked, you weren't even paying your own bills, bud. So who are you to, you know what I mean? I would not encourage you to continue hanging out with those people, because their mindset is not focused on winning. And it needs to be focused on winning what your goals are. Okay. Winning in terms of your path that, your higher power has sent you on. Okay. Somebody said, I thought I clicked on a short. I do have some shorts on the video page if you are looking for a quick message. Most of the shorts, I think, are around 60 seconds or less. Okay. So somebody in the comments here, it says, Roger says, I was longing for the same thing until I started loving myself. This started bringing a lot of change in my life. Exactly. What's that song? Loving you, right? Season. Right? I can't hit that. Right? She goes up that Minnie Riperton, right? It's, you have to kind of, it's like, well, they're not doing this for me and they're not doing that for me. You're never going to change somebody else. It's just not going to happen. But what you can do is say, well, I would like this, right? Like for me, I have a vehicle, so I drive a lot, and several years ago, I had an eye surgery. My eyes have become a little more sensitive to light. Would it be nice if somebody I knew would be like, oh, well, I know your eyes are sensitive. Maybe you need some nice fancy sunglasses, right? And you think to yourself, oh gosh, I could never spend that much money on a pair of sunglasses. Well, these are your eyes. Maybe you should. Right? So, what I did, I gifted, I went to a local place and they were out of stock. They couldn't find them. And then I went online and I found somebody that still had some, and I got them for a little bit cheaper. So win-win for me. Gifting something to myself, valuing yourself, right? Saying, I'm going to take that. I'm not going to, try and give it to this person and this person and this person. I'm going to reinvest it in me. And when we do that, it helps do what? It helps turn that frown upside down. Okay. Because if you're waiting for somebody else to recognize your greatness, honey, you'll be waiting a long time. You'll be waiting a long time. Okay. I think that's why pets are so popular, because they love us unconditionally, right? We don't have to explain why we're supposed to be loved, right? Because look at famously the gal that recently got fired from her high-level cabinet position in the government. The woman looks like a Barbie doll, and her husband was given money to who? Not her. He was investing in something completely different, okay? It's like, what conversation can you have at that point? When people have already made those decisions, you have to let them sit with those decisions. And, just continue to do the best you can, right? There's a lot of stories out there that are similar and unfortunately worse, where the outcome is not as good. So, valuing yourself and saying, you know what, I'm not just going to wait and see. I have rights as an individual, right? I have a right to be treated with respect. Right? Because why, right? What did Stuart Smalley say? Because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me, okay? All right. That's a fun username, Unto the Whirlwind. Sometimes it feels like a whirlwind when we get out there in the world, right? You could be out, what's that movie with Julia Roberts when she's out shopping? She goes in there with her short skirt, and they're like, looking at her like, that happens. I mean, I went to a professional business meeting once, and the woman would barely even let me in the door. I had on a skirt that was just above the knee, and it was turtleneck top and long sleeve, but it was, form fitting. And oh man, she looked me up and down. And I was like, well, I have an appointment. She's like, with who? And then when she finally let me in, I was a little, I kind of gave her a little guff at the door because it's like I was standing there with my bag, my computers and everything, and it wasn't exactly warm outside, and it's like, why is she giving me the third degree here? And then she finally let me inside, and then she yelled upstairs to the people, I just let her in. She said that she's supposed to be here. It's like, wow, talk about unprofessional. Which I finally got around to mailing the directors of that professional building to let them know how I was treated, and to let them know that I also found a different business in town locally that would be able to assist me with my inquiry, since those people didn't want to take me seriously. And it's like, wow. Now, did I go back in there like Julia Roberts and say, you messed up big? No, I did not. I didn't send any nasty grams to them saying, why didn't you help me? And why didn't you wait? No. But I did let the people who run the building know. And especially considering that I'm an alumni, I was very much appalled by the treatment. and me being an alumni, it's like, you think, oh, well, I would recommend, that place because it's connected to, my old university and stuff. But it's like, no, I absolutely would never recommend that to anybody because I wouldn't want them to be treated in that manner. All right, let's see what the romance angels have to say. Free yourself. Look at this little unicorn all wrapped up in this cage. Yeah, some people don't want you to run. They don't want you to be free, right? They don't want you to spread your little wings and fly, because then that makes them look some sort of way, right? Here it says it's time to take back control of your life. So if that is your high horse, get back on it. Get back on it. What do they say? No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Okay? So free yourself perhaps of that mindset and know that there's a greater power looking out for you. Your success is not dependent on what your parents say, what your brother or sister says, what your cousins say. Your success is not dependent on what this teacher said and what that professor said, or what your school classmates say. Your success is not dependent on what this record company said, or what this book publisher said, or what this business manager said. You take their power away and put it back, and you think, well, I'm just going to have to figure it out a different way. that song? Standing in the Shadows of Love. Is that the Four Tops? Standing in the shadows of love. Dun, 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 dun. Something. I'll look that up later. Somebody says, I'm freeing something. All right, almost there. All right, make sure you keep it PG in the chat, right? Somebody's saying, sounds like that person was a little yes, jealousy is very powerful. Some people are unable to control their jealousy, and it will manifest outwardly towards you. Again, that's part of this projection. And then they want you to think, like, oh, well, what did, they want you to be all up in your head, like, oh, what did I do? And how could I be better? Well, maybe there's nothing else you could have done. Some people just ain't gonna like you. And some of you will find out also that it rarely has much to do with you. Sometimes it's because, so-and-so 100 years ago, right, that owned the neighboring farm, right, Hatfields and the McCoys type thing, right? Oh, well, they're a McCoy. You don't want to get involved with them. Oh, those Hatfields, they always think they're right about everything. Sometimes these people are fighting about stuff that has nothing to do with you. Nothing. And you might not even know what they were ever fighting about, right? But because you have that last name, or you look like so-and-so, or you went to the same school as my ex-wife's brother-in-law. Like, wow, you got your little shorts in a twist there, huh? Over what? Right? Again, those are people exhibiting childish behaviors, whereas you, collective, are an adult. That's when the discernment sets in. And you have to say to yourself, is this person even capable of understanding you? Maybe I don't need them in my coalition. That's part of healing the hurt. It's part of healing the hurt, right? What's that show, Survivor? I thought we had an alliance. Now you're voting me out. Really? $1 million on the line. Have you seen Dateline? People have been offed for less. And it wasn't on part of a game show. Back in the high life again. Right? Be like, oh, what, you think you're going to be living the high life off of me? I don't think so. The price is wrong on that one. Oh, well, I've traveled fairly extensively, so, sometimes different accents come out. So thank you. I appreciate your recognition of my different vocal intonations. But funny story, I have some relatives that are from up north, and from where I'm at in the Midwest, they think that is how Southerners talk. Whereas if you went to the Southeast, then you might actually get some real Southern speak. And I don't do sweet tea, so y'all know I'm not real Southerners. I don't even drink sweet tea, okay? I'm more a lemonade type gal myself. Finances and career. Financial issues are a factor in your love life right now. Okay. So that could be part of healing this heartache. What was that allegory I was saying? Oh, I wish somebody would buy me that gift. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Some people just can't do that for you. Right. But what can you do for yourself? Maybe you can give yourself that gift. And maybe it's not financial so much as maybe it's the gift of time. Okay. One of my former coworkers, I just saw her on social media talking about all the books that she was able to read in the last year or so because she set some time and dedicated some time to herself. I mean, this woman has a family, a husband, household, job, right? All the things that keep you running, keep you thinking. Okay. Sometimes we just have to take a time out and say, how am I going to heal myself? How am I going to prioritize myself? Maybe for you, it's, focusing on, your prayer books. Okay. For some people, it could be, I'm reading this latest novel. Maybe for some people, it's setting aside that time to exercise. Maybe for some people it is watching your favorite show on TV without little kids jumping in front of the TV and hollering and screaming. Right? God forbid you get a moment's peace. Right? As we love the people in our environment, right? Sometimes, right? Recognize you're not doing anything wrong by requesting a little quiet time for yourself. Okay. So when you allow yourself that quiet time, and however you choose to do that, right? Then you are freeing your mind. You're freeing yourself to think about things besides who's picking up little Johnny tomorrow. Because trust me, you're going to figure it out tomorrow when it happens. Just like you did all the other tomorrows of your life. Okay. And for some of you, this could be, I hate to say it, but the recognition that, maybe somebody wants to act broke. Maybe there's somebody you're dealing with that's just cheap, and you're like, that's just not really my style. I don't mind saving some money, but, I like to go out for a steak dinner every now and then, so I'm willing to spend that money on that event, right? Or that experience, right? Maybe you're willing to spend some money on some travel so you can go, see something besides just what somebody's putting in front of you and saying, no, this is the only thing that you can look at. Like, wow, you must be fun at parties. Continuing on. Alrighty, let's continue going on. Thank you for the likes for those who have liked the video so far. Forgiving and learning. As you release and heal the past, you experience more love in your present moments, right? So again, there could be people that want you to be thinking about this time in high school when so-and-so said this and so-and-so said that, or whatever. Right? And you could be like, whoa, I thought we moved past that. Some people haven't. That's when it's okay, you have to forgive that person, and, maybe you're not able to move forward with that person after that. Okay? But detaching from that feeling is going to, release that guilt, release the burden of carrying something that may not even be yours. right? You know, a lot of us will say, you know, I already met my maker. Okay. I already had my come to Jesus moment. You know, it's for some folks, they're still working on it. So, you know, forgiving and learning, right? Release and heal. Release those people to go on the path that they were meant to go on. Just as you are on the path that you're meant to go on. Okay? Yes, and it says there, experience more love in your present moments. Right. So, again, as I said earlier in the video, you know, do you think that which created you wants you to sit there and be upset and be all the time? Because somebody has an issue with you, valid or not. I mean, there's people that will have issues with you that will never even divulge that they have issues with you, but you can just kind of feel it, and it's like, there's something weird here. But it's like, oh, that's their problem. Because when you forgive, you learn. Yeah, other people got to attend to their business just like you did. Right? So I'm allowed to love myself. I guess you can keep hating on me, I guess. You know, that's trips your trigger or something, but you know, might be a waste of time. But you know, you can't worry about that. What's that other saying? What other people think of you is none of your business. You ever hear that one too? Alrighty. Reconciliation. Wanted to come out in reverse, but here it says someone from your past is returning to your life. So somebody that you may know, you know, maybe they see that you're doing well now and they're like, want to, you know, kind of come over there and kick that tire one more time, right? Whether you allow that or not is up to you. Some of you can be like, hey, I'm not a used car. Don't be coming up here trying to roll that odometer back like those other miles didn't happen. Right? So, you know, I'm not saying it can't work. All right. Obviously, you know, this is a collective reading, so your situation may vary, you know, between you and whoever else is watching this video. Okay. For some of you, this could even be where maybe you have turned the corner and maybe for some reason, you know, maybe this is somebody you never divulged your feelings for them or something, right? And maybe now you are, you know, you've healed. Maybe now you're in a better position to communicate. Maybe you're more, you know, emotionally healthy. Okay. So that could be one of these things as well, where you're like, you know, now I can do it, I can say it, and if it doesn't work, it's not going to break me, right? Some people hold back because they're like, ooh, I just, what was the movie Back to the Future? And he was like, oh, I can't go and talk to her now. What if she rejects me? Right? And he says, well, George, how do you know if she's going to reject you if you don't try? You know, and then what happens? She kind of rejects him. Right? But later on, right, when he's not Biff's little whipping boy anymore, and he's able to stand up to that bully, and he's saying, hey, Lorraine, you and me ought to get together. What do you think of that? And she's like, who's this guy? Right? This got a little pep in his step. Okay? It could be something like that. where reconciliation can occur. All right. Where, you're both in a better place. This could even be after some kind of separation where, maybe so and so moved away for a while. Maybe their family moved because of work or school or something, and maybe now they're back in the area, or maybe you also relocated. Maybe you found this person on social media and you see that they're currently single, and you're like, hey, maybe there's an opening. Maybe there's you know what I mean? It could be something like that where the timing just wasn't right before, but now it has the potential. Okay. I'll just say it that way, because we all know day to day things can change. Right. But, if it's that type of good hearted energy and the healed energy that you're putting forth, well, it could blossom into something very nice. Okay. All right. Ooh. Talk about a weekend reading. It says chemistry. There's a strong magnetic attraction here. Yeah. So, collective, this is one of those things where, if you find yourself going to this person's social media, if you find yourself blah, 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 right? Maybe you end up dreaming about this person. If you find yourself just sitting there and like, why am I thinking about so-and-so? Maybe that is, your intuition. Maybe that is your higher power saying, you know what? I need to pursue this. Whether or not it turns out the way I want, you have to accept that, right? But it may allow you the closure that you need in order to move forward. Where it's like, maybe you do confess your feelings. Maybe you say, hey, I always thought you were kind of cute and funny or whatever. And, would you like to get together if you're single? Right? And, if they say no, hey, they say no. You can say, you know what? I tried. What else can you do? Okay. In this case, though, I don't know. And it's so funny. I was walking into Target and earlier today, I had to get some new little hair clips for my hair and stuff. Anyway, there was a couple walking out, and I heard the gal, and they were holding hands, and I thought, oh, young love, right? Holding the hand, holding the hands wherever you go, even coming out of Target, right? Remember those days? And she was singing that Mary J. Blige song, real love. I'm searching for a real love. Someone to set my heart free, real love. I'm searching for a real love, right? So obviously she was walking with her love, right? And I thought, oh, well, that's kind of cute. You know what I mean? So, to me, that couple was exhibiting some chemistry there, right? Holding hands, walking together, one of them singing, right? I think some of us of a certain age, of course, have been in relationships to a certain point where you don't feel like singing around that person. Like grumbling around that person, right? And if the frequency of being around that person turns into more grumbling than singing, well, maybe you have some things to work out, right? Maybe that's, what might need to be healed. Okay. So you can get back, right? Get back to what you appreciate, right? Get back to being appreciated, freeing yourself to love freely, right? it was a X-Files episode that was on last night on one of the channels. And it was the lady from like 80s SNL. Well, I don't know. I think she was into the 90s too, but Victoria something, the blonde, one of the blonde ladies. And, she's like getting this whole little Valentine's thing. She has her little red, Valentine's outfit on, waiting for her fiance to come home. And she lit the candle and all this stuff. And then he comes in, he's like, ugh. And then he's, says something about her butt being too big. Obviously, that was filmed way before everyone started having them butt surgeries, right? Nowadays, it's like the bigger the better, right? But here she was, that little fun unicorn, right? Trying to share and be free and love, right? And he's like, no. Well, then later in the episode, he ends up getting caught in a hailstorm and like literally like the hail like knocks him out, which it's like maybe that's what he deserved. He's like, he could have been with his cute little girlfriend at home, but no, he wanted to be a jerk. So anyway. That is the reading I have for you guys. The two stones I have right here. This is carnelian, which is actually good for your sacral your love muscle area, right? And then this is selenite, which is an energy clearing crystal, I would say. This also, don't get this like overly wet because it will dissolve eventually in water, but like a carnelian stone, this is like actually like a, something that will stand up to that sort of thing. Selenite can be fairly brittle, okay? All right, you guys, thank you for listening and watching today. Thank you for the likes on the video. We will see when I release another video. If you are new to the channel, there are hundreds and hundreds of videos that I have already done where you might resonate with the title. I encourage you to click on those videos. You don't even have to watch the whole video. You might just watch part of it and something says, yep, that makes sense. And sometimes that's all we need, right? We just need that one other person in our life in that moment to say, yeah, there's somebody else out there that understands what I'm going through. There's somebody else that understands the path I'm on. There's somebody else out there who is making sense, right? In a world sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Because there are a lot of things that happen that don't make sense. And, that's part of accepting reality. That's part of accepting that, our path and our journey may be difficult. And it's also part of accepting that, maybe one day we will understand, right? And maybe it's not today, maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's 5 years down the road. Maybe it's, do you ever have that happen, right? And you're like, you're somewhere and then it's like, I remember talking to so-and-so several years ago and there was something they said and now for some reason that's just making sense in applying it to whatever situation you're in, right? Okay, because you're not necessarily meant to understand everything right away, right? Or at that moment. Sometimes you just have to keep working at it, right? But work at it for your highest good. Don't work at it to impress this person. Don't work at it so that you can tell so-and-so, right? There's a lot of people, especially when I was younger, I went through this too. It's like, you want to be, purpose-driven, right? Maybe, you're not just about making money. You want to be, making a difference. Maybe you're, things of that nature. But, as you get older, you will realize that something that you didn't think was very valuable is actually quite valuable, Okay. You could say, oh, well, I had to work this job and blah, blah. Okay, well, were you good at it? You'd be like, well, yeah, I was good at it. Okay. Well, did you make money? Well, yeah, I made money. Okay, so you were able to live and support yourself and maybe help your community or your family or, however. What's so bad about that? Right? Some people think that you have to be doing, you have to be famous and this. Vincent van Gogh was never famous in his lifetime. Right? But look at him now. One of the most recognized artists on the planet. And he's been gone for, over a century, right? They're still talking about that guy. Okay. So again, just because it doesn't make sense in that moment doesn't mean it's not purposeful. It doesn't mean it's not needed. Okay. So free yourself from some of that expectation, right? Because some people would be like, oh, well, they tried to be an artist and they failed. Well, no. Did you create? Okay. Did you try? Okay. There is a bigger picture, whether you're seeing it or not. Okay. All right. Wow. Hit an hour today. That's pretty wild. Okay. You guys have noticed most of my readings are more of the 1.5 hour mark. So I guess I had some build up here today. So please do enjoy the weekend. If you're somebody who has weekends off, or whenever your weekend will be occurring next. Okay. Thank you also those folks in the chat today for being kind, not only to me, but to others in the chat. That kind of leadership is very nice to see. Okay. Being able to have civil discussions in the chat, because I like to keep the chat open for people. I like people to be able to express themselves. But I do have it marked where, certain things will be held for review if they are deemed inappropriate by the YouTube platform. Okay. I have had to remove people or put them in timeouts, right? And I don't want to have to do that, but, sometimes that's part of life, right? Okay. So anyway, until next time, please do manifest wisely. Bye-bye.